Welcome now on stage Blackie and Alex, respectively from Protofire and OtterSec for a security fireside chat.
Thank you. Do we read the question ourselves?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah? Want to read one and one? Okay. We're deciding how to do it. Okay, so... yeah? Yeah.
Test.
Do we read the question ourselves?
Yeah, just
Yeah? Yeah? Oh, chit chat. Okay. We started with a question. We had a topic earlier. We talked during breakfast about one of the most famous topics that you can have in everything right now. It's AI. So we were talking about when AI will. We are both auditors. So
Yeah.
let's start with introducing ourselves.
Hey, I'm Alex. I'm with OtterSec. We do smart contract audits. Says it really clearly on my shirt. you can always find me in any conference, always wearing the same neon green T-shirt. So.
Yeah, I'm Carlo. I'm also an auditor, and I work for Protofire, which does audit and development and other stuff. But yeah, I'm the head of security, so I handle the audit department. And as I was saying earlier, we were talking about AI. When AI will actually steal my job, which is a kind of a complicated question right now, because AI can be very good at auditing, but it's not great right now for some reason. And I don't know if you ever found any tool with AI that is actually good for auditing, but...
We're still looking.
Yeah.
On our side, we don't have really any concerns. Like when my personal viewpoint is just when, if you're able to, if you find it's not AI, but if you find an LLM that can actually find bugs in your code base, you've really found an actual AI that can code. So show me the first one that can do it well and can do anything that you want, right? Like it fails on simple tasks. Have it build an L1. Does it even know what an L1 is? No idea. You have to tell it what to do, right? Like you have to be very specific. And even in that case, like we were talking before, there's still hallucinations that occur. So at some point, yes. But currently...
Probably in the next 5 years at some point. But yeah, for now, AI is still a big topic also in audits, in security. But I've not found anything that is meaningful. They do help with speeding up the process. But for now, they luckily cannot steal my job. So, so for now, we're safe.
Yeah, it does help speed up the audit process from the standpoint of like when our engineering teams have to create test harnesses or any of the standard codes programs to test the edge cases, then it becomes easier, right? But in terms of finding actual bugs, that's still a bit ways out.
Yeah, no, great. I'll look at the question that we had, so we can go with also that.
Just out of curiosity, raise your hand if you're a developer out in the crowd.
Solidity developer? I mean, Solidity Rust, like working with blockchain.
Who does Rust? Yeah.
Okay.
Non-developers, raise your hands. Should be everybody else.
Okay.
All right. Investors?
So, as a second possible question I had, what would you change in the Web3 security ecosystem if you could?
From which side? My personal. I hope that most projects come earlier. I get a lot of like last minute requests. Like, oh my God, we need audits next week. I'm like, I can't. I wish I could help, but we're typically 2 months, a month, so like anywhere between 3 to 6 weeks backlogged. And that's actually like the way that we typically prefer to run the business as well, right? Like we want to be able to, we're like any other business, right? Like we need to be able to predict our pipeline, and we have to schedule the engineering time out, and we are scheduled out, right? So if the projects come in at the last minute, it's hard to fit them in unless they're from one of the retainer clients.
Yeah. I mean, I will expand on that with basic expectation from projects. Usually developer don't really know what to expect and from the audit itself. So some of them see it as a marketing tool, which is not what we do. There is some company that will happily do it, but not what we do. So I think the expectation is the biggest problem. So it's mainly them coming last minute, not wanting, because it does happen that projects really don't want stuff on the report. They really fight to not have vulnerabilities written, which is a big problem because most audits are a snapshot in time. So you take a snapshot, for example, on the commit. So you say, on this commit on GitHub, I started the audit. That's what I'm seeing as a code. So I cannot now report vulnerabilities, like they are there in the commit that I'm using. So it's a big problem when clients really want to not have something written in the report. So yeah, I would say expectation is the biggest problem right now in cybersecurity, in Web3.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that comes from just there's a lack of, well, like, how do you even learn about software security? It's not really something that's taught in colleges, right? Like it's more of like an afterthought. There's some colleges that do that, but it's not.
Yeah, I would say that most people just learn it on, like, they learn a little bit, and right now they start to do something like Code for Arena, Cantina, like they do public stuff to show that they can do it, and then they might either continue that or get a job as an auditor after showing that they can do it. But yeah, it's mostly something that you learn on your own. There is resources, but they're not great on their own, so you need a lot of resources. So YouTube, as always, helps. So that's
yeah,
good.
Yeah. That resources part is also something that's of concern too, right? It's in reporting bugs that we find, it's a liability for auditors, right? Like we face legal backlash from the companies that we report bugs to, because nobody wants to be on an article with a statement that somebody found a 0 day and all of their wallets are compromised. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword there. There's problems on both sides.
Yeah. I'll look if we have, okay. So this is kind of connected. Yeah, the other question is, why do so many protocols get hacked even after being audited? And I think it's very connected to wrong expectation. So when you go into an audit, you're not prepared, you don't know what you want. So it probably starts from the fact that expectations are wrong from the first moment.
Right, there's multiple angles. I mean, like it's the dev team, it's the executive team. Does the project team believe that security is necessary? I've spoken to numerous people who they're like, nah, we don't need an audit. Shocking, but I've heard those words come out of people's mouths. So an understanding of security, and this isn't just software security. We're also talking now at this point, how do you manage your keys? Who has access to your keys? How do you deploy software? Supply chain hacks. What open source software are you using? Have you double checked that software? Who are you working with? Have you met your employee? Right? Some of our customers have run into North Korean actors.
That's easy. You just ask them to insult Kim Jong-un and you solve it.
Yeah. So it's not just software security. It's literally like everything else. For those founders in the room, there's a lot more you have to deal with now.
Yeah, we have had the biggest heist in history. Like, was it February with Bybit, 1.5 billion, and that was not smart contract. That was them clicking links that they should not click, and not checking the signature when they actually go with safe. So yeah, there is a lot of problem, and I feel most projects feel that when they get one audit, they're safe, they're great. But number one, as auditors, we can make mistake. We are humans, so only one audit can be dangerous. Number two, most times in audits there are like, we look for some vulnerabilities, but stuff like admin access control, like admin that can do stuff, we are not really auditing for that if it's only a smart contract. So if you lose your keys, then something can happen. So we do look for some stuff in the audit itself, but most audits don't cover 360. So you feel like you're safe, but then you're not.
Yeah. There's multiple aspects of, but I think you hit on a very critical point here. So my background will determine what I see in a security vulnerability, right? His background will determine what he will see. And it's almost like my personal dictionary of words is different from his personal dictionary of words. What he's interested in will be completely different from the words that exist in my dictionary. And I will only pay attention to the words that are in my dictionary. So you need, as a project, you need multiple auditors who have different backgrounds to be able to identify different types of bugs and different ways to get in, and just think about how to compromise the software that you've written.
Yeah. In the audience, there is a guy that I used to audit with in my old company, and he knows that I'm very into DeFi, so I was very good in finding DeFi-related bugs, of composability bugs with DeFi protocols, or straight out understanding the protocol from just reading 1 second the documentation, which for most other auditors that I worked with at the time was not that easy. So I was very good with DeFi. I was much more keen to understand DeFi problems. But for example, there was auditors that were much better at understanding something else. So if I got a DeFi project, it was much easier for me to audit than for them. But it also always depends. The problem is that for team, it's really impossible to know who is good at doing what, especially if you go to a big firm, you don't know who you're going to get. So it's very hard to actually target your protocol with a specific auditor, which is something that should be fixed, actually. Like, we should have more specific. Also, yeah, like the firm itself should know what the auditor are good at.
Yeah.
And we should have more specific auditor for different things. Because, for example, as I said, for DeFi, sometimes it was not easy for some auditor to actually understand the protocol itself, like what it was supposed to do, because they didn't use much of DeFi. So they will lose a bit of the time doing the audit to actually understand the protocol, which was something that, if you actually use it every day, comes natural.
Yeah. So that's actually a fantastic point. So don't be shy about asking for your auditor's profiles. So their background, ask for the background. Like, we provide the background. You ask, we provide. So we'll tell you what projects they've audited previously and what their history is. And you can also find their audit reports on our website as well. So you can read through that. You can understand how they think from a security standpoint. And that's very important. You should always ask for that.
It's something that is not really felt, but I could see it while doing the audit, and I could see because sometimes DeFi protocol can be very hard, so I could see the difficulties in that. So it's something that is not very taught when you start an audit, but it should be. We should have more specialized auditor. The problem is that then you're less capital efficient, because maybe some of your auditors are not working 100% of the time, so you ignore the point and you try to get as much profit as possible, but it's not a great thing in security.
And maybe that's actually another good point too. Like, it also depends on what you're building, right? Like, if you're doing a token, do you need an audit? Do you need an audit? Actually, is a question. Some chains tokens are native, so you don't need an audit because we've already audited them. So, but if you're building something more complicated like infrastructure or a DeFi application, then you for sure need an audit. And then if you look at the chains, Solana, Aptos, Sui, Fuel, Say, Celestia, like you name the chains, then and you talk to the CTOs of these companies, they have multiple auditors on retainer. Because of the amount of code that they push on a consistent basis, as well as the complexity of the code. So there is that range as well, right? So if you're on the more complicated side, then definitely consider more eyeballs on the code.
Yeah, the problem is that they are not cheap, but it's cheaper to pay for more than one audit than to get hacked, because once your reputation is gone, it's kind of hard to regain it back.
Yeah.
There has been team in the past that have been hacked like 5 times, and I'm very surprised that they were able to get TVL back. Shout out to Cream Finance. They've been hacked so many times. But yeah, once you get hacked one time, it's very hard to actually regain TVL. So audits are not cheap. We do realize that. But it's usually more expensive to get hacked than to pay for a second audit or third one, which usually it's especially for heavy math protocol, it's very needed, because as I said earlier, we can make mistakes. It's not impossible. Yeah. So I think you should go for more than one. But yeah, it depends on how hard it is, how much money does the team have, because most times we arrive with an estimation and we're asked for a discount, and most times we accept. So
yeah, I mean, I think that brings up another good point too, which is build it into your fundraising models. So know that the audits are gonna range somewhere between, let's just say 50,000 to 150,000, and build that into your funding models. And get that up front, allocate it, and if it comes in less, fantastic, right? And then the other option is crowdsourced audits. Yeah, that's another fun one. Immunify. What are some other?
There is Cantina, Code for Arena.
Yeah.
They have had a bit of backlash lately, like the past week. They are new. Not really. They've been existing for a bit, but now they are starting to be more famous, the crowdsourced audit. So now we're seeing also problem with them. So last week we've had a bit of controversy with Cork exploit, and maybe there has been a fight between Sherlock, yeah, Cantina, and Spearbit.
Wow.
I don't know who is right, but yeah, I don't know how good they are, because they are now getting to a more mainstream phase, so we're seeing the problems now. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, any way you guys can get your audits, that's pursue those avenues and at least do the research and chat with the different providers to kind of understand A, their background, and then B, what they're capable of, right? So if the community audits are a good way to kind of go about getting more eyeballs and a broader, more diverse set of experiences, auditor backgrounds on your code base. So that's one option. And then you obviously have to compare that in terms of price against what a top tier firm would cost, right? Because if it's a similar price, then you, in theory, would go for the top tier firm because they would be comprehensive, right?
Yeah, there's different prices for different needs, and but yeah, usually, at least for now, well, no, not really, but for top tier firm, they cost a lot because they are very good. So we do have some kind of rightful hierarchy in that. So there is a few firms that I don't know how they can sell with those prices, yeah, but usually we kind of have if you are paying this much, you are getting this much, yeah. Kind of.
And actually going back to an earlier question too, on this point of costs can come down if you guys write your unit tests, write your documentation, for God's sakes. How many firms, I've had companies come in, no unit tests, no
documentation, for some reason.
No architectural documentation. I mean, do you even want an audit? What are you doing? So, yeah, so you gotta, security's almost gotta be on the forefront, but you're building software that you want to be secure. And that should show up in the documentation that you write.
Yep.
And when you come to us, you can explain it to us. We can read the words on the page and clearly understand what you intended with the code. And then that'll help reduce the cost, I feel, generally.
Yeah,
with the
also,
auditors.
like, I feel this is also, again, with expectation a bit missed. The fact that we do estimate how long we're going to take. We never really know exactly how long it's going to take precisely. Sometimes it takes less, sometimes it takes more. So if we don't have unit tests, we don't have documentation, we don't know what you want to build, we waste time from the estimation to actually try to understand those things. So if you actually have it from the start, we can focus on more important stuff. Because usually the biggest vulnerabilities are found at the end. Like the last days are the one that you actually find more important stuff because you know better the code. So you can see irregularities, or you can actually understand how contracts speak with each other. But at the start, it's very hard to do it. So if you help the auditor by having everything ready, like documentation, unit test, and know what you're about to build, that saves time, which can save the protocol in the long run. So that can be very important. I'll get another one. Let's see. How do you determine whether an audit was successful?
That's a hard one. I mean, generally it's no hacks.
But the point is the hacks can happen in 3 years, 4 years.
What's typically it's client feedback. The client will tell you immediately whether it was a good audit or not. The crack devs on the other side will I'm on the sales side, but I get added to the engineering channels, right? So I'll see the conversations, right? And maybe one way for like if you're not on the non-engineering side, it's how detailed the conversations, how detailed the back and forth is between our engineering team and your engineering team, and that's a signal of like quality, right? So if we're digging in deep and we're identifying deep attack, like complicated attack vectors, then the client will simply go, "Oh my God, that's brilliant! I didn't think about that."
I don't think it's possible to say that there is a successful audit because, again, like you might be hacked in 5 years, and but I mean, if it takes that long, maybe the audit was good. It was just very hard to.
Yeah. I mean, there's been cases where the clients have changed libraries without notifying.
Oh yeah. Changing, like, again, most audits are a snapshot in time, like they are on a commit, and then there is a fix, so a remediation, and you do the other commit. When teams change stuff after the audit is finished, we cannot do anything. Like we audited that, but it was back on the previous commit. Like we cannot control what you do. So there have been many teams that actually do implement stuff, or during the audit itself, they ask me to add features, and usually I don't really like it. I prefer to have everything when the audit has already started and not change anything. But it's very often that the team has not finished the code, so they want to add feature, which begs the question, why did you even start the audit on itself? But yeah, it does happen very often. So yeah, this is a problem when they actually change the commits, because let's be honest, nobody reads audits. So nobody knows that the code deployed is actually different from the one that we audited. So it's a reputational damage for us, even though we audited something different.
It needs to be the same, though.
Yeah.
It needs to be the same.
Let's see another one. Is perfect security even possible in crypto?
I think this goes back to that previous question. That's hard. That's very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, again, no. The point is that perfect security, there is no perfect security in anything, but we are also very lucky that every transaction that we do in crypto is financial. So every good hacker is coming here because they can actually get money instead of data, as they do in Web 2. So we're getting actually the best white hat and the best black hat. So we are getting attacked much more because there is an incentive to attack us much more. And we do have, depending on the chain and on how you write the code, but let's say at least half of the smart contracts are immutable. So if you have a problem, you're done. So easy to steal money, impossible for them to fix. It's a good combination for hackers to come. So I think we have better security than usual because we have much more incentive to actually attack us. It's just that when an hack happens, you cannot do anything to fix it.
I think another important thing to remember here is also how many years are we into smart contracts? It's a handful of years, right? This is relatively new tech compared to like mobile phones. Mobile phones have been around for much longer. Right? Smart contracts, like we are on, all of you are on the bleeding edge of software right here. Like, you should give yourselves a round of applause for being on the bleeding edge. So remember that. Exactly. This is all new territory. So we shouldn't, like, I guess that's I'm trying to say, like, let's work together to identify the bugs, build an open, help each other out, talk about the problems that you've experienced, or challenges that you've come across, and figure out how to solve these, how to make everything more secure. And we'll get there together.
Again, I don't think we will ever reach, unless we go for formal verification, which I don't think we're going to go for. I don't think we're ever going to reach perfect security. Also because with formal verification, there is other areas, as we said earlier. Other than smart contract, there is a lot of problems that can happen. The most famous one is a leak of the private key, or again, like something like Bybit, so you can be targeted to be attacked if there is a big enough incentive. So I don't think we will ever reach like perfect security. Good security, maybe. We're very far away from it. There is a lot of bugs still around. They are not paid enough in a white hat way. So there is a big problem of, I think, incentives in how we structure audits, bug bounties, and all the security services. But we're trying, so
yeah. Well, I mean, there's like we found bugs we found 0 days with Google Auth, and the ways that projects have deployed Google Auth within their projects. So in the interest of when you're trying to make things simpler for your users, you're introducing bugs. So that's also a concern, right? So we have to be very careful in towing this line between security and ease of use. Of course, we're going to advocate for security first, right? Like that security first needs to be a mindset, and we need to come from that angle into ease of use. But I will. That's why we're up on this panel.
Also, in the smart contract itself, there is this kind of balance, and sometimes I do read code, which not my place to actually help you design the code, but sometimes I read it and I'm like, I don't understand why you actually built it this way. Like, to maybe spend 3 gas less for every transaction, you do a big block of assembly, so you make it harder to actually read the code to save almost nothing. So there is also this balance of ease of use, ease of readability and security in the code itself. But yeah, it's not our place to actually help them design the code, so we just read it. But when I do read it, sometimes I would like to tell them, you are actually not improving much by doing this. You are just making it harder to read. But yeah, usually I don't I don't go that way. Let's see. How early should the team bring in security experts?
As soon as they start the project. We engage on, we actively engage with like accelerators and other like pre-seed, seed VCs to get ahead of the curve. And that's also why we're here at these events, is to say hi to the people who are interested in building, who are starting to build, and who have built, just to plant the seed for security up ahead. Like, it's never too early. Yeah.
Yeah, and, I mean, depending on the project, teams should also have internal security, which I don't think almost ever happens, unless you're a very big team. Like, I'm not even sure of that, but I think something like Aave does have internal security, and then they also do audits. I don't think almost anyone has some internal team member that does security. And even then, I feel like most teams do not follow it correctly. Like, there is a few teams that also have a lot of TVL that, for example, use the same computer that they should use to sign for something else, like to play video games, which is not a great idea. So, yeah, I don't think security is thought of unless you're paying for the audit, so you're like, okay, I'm paying this much, now I'm following the security best practice. But no, usually it's very ignored, but should be less.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a balance between business, it's a balance between revenue and then updating the code base.
Yeah.
Right, but revenue can go to zero if you get hacked. So I feel like that security needs to be a concern from that perspective.
Well, this is not the place for this panel, but most teams don't really care about revenue. They have the VC that are already paid, so it's not really caring about the security also for that. What's the hardest part about auditing?
What's the other?
Hardest part?
Hardest part
yeah.
about auditing.
I would say for me as an auditor to come to terms with the fact that we do make mistakes. You become a better auditor when you're like, okay, it can happen. So you're not. When I started, I was very worried. So I was working. I got to a point where I was almost in burnout because I was working so much because I was scared of doing mistakes, which is something that can happen. But when you're okay with the fact, you can audit better because you're not scared of.
Yeah.
You're confident with your ability.
Yeah. I echo that, and I think the other part of this also is that the passion that a lot of the security teams have is also just. I've seen our guys like, why do you do it this way? Like, patch it, and we're waiting like 2, 4, 6 weeks for the patch. Like, just prioritize. You guys are like, what? Why wait? So I feel like the passion. There's a reason why somebody becomes a security person is because they're passionate about security, and that passion sometimes does drive us insane. Because we want to see you succeed. We want to see you secure.
You gotta have paranoia. To be an auditor, you gotta be paranoid.
Yeah.
Which is something that luckily I already had, so I could just apply it. But yeah, you gotta be paranoid because otherwise you're gonna be trusting stuff that you're not gonna trust. So when I do audit, I don't even trust the team that is paying, which is most times not useful, but it's a part of.
There's an old quote from Andy Grove of Intel. He said, "Only the paranoid survive." Yeah. I like that quote.
Which is something that in audits is very, very true.
Yeah.
Let's see. What does a smart contract audit actually involve? Which I think this is on the easier side as a question.
I think we kind of covered that already.
I think we did finish most of the question here. I don't see one that we have not done.
Do we want to take?
Do you have any question from the public?
You diehards have stayed through this entire time.
Yeah, we lost
questions.
all the first rows, but you guys stayed.
We appreciate you.
Do you have any question? Go. I'll get you the mic.
Thank you. At the beginning, you lamented a bit of a lack of preparation, training for the auditors, but also in terms of expectation for the developers. What would you like to see in a training program? Which kind of tools, which kind of things for the auditor and maybe also for the developer? Thank you.
Tools itself, for now, not many. When you start the audit, you can see, for example, from what they use as a suite to develop, if they are actually better than, like if they use RDATs, like in 2025, I'm like, I don't know if you're very great at writing code. So I would like to see them using the latest things, like for example, right now, Foundry. So I would like for them to be up to date. But as far as tool goes, not much. I would like, when they actually implement something like a fuzzer, at that point I'm like, okay, I'm working with a team that actually really cares about security, and they took step into going there themselves. So they already had the fuzz testing, they already fixed stuff that they found with that. So from the developer side, if they know how to fuzz test and they actually implement it, and from the auditor side, they should actually know. As tools, I will again say mostly fuzz testing, because I don't think there is many other tools that are great. Most of the other tools are lacking, to say the least. You waste mostly time because there is a lot of noise. But from a mindset perspective, you should understand that it's not a black box thing. Like when you go to an audit firm, it's not like you give the code, you pay, and then something comes out, which is the report. Most time there is a conversation, the audit team needs something from you, the developer team needs something from the auditor. There needs to be a conversation from both sides, there needs to be responses. So most times I see teams taking it as a black box. Like they just pay and they expect a report at the end. But I will say that entering it as we are in this together, like you are doing the audit, but I am helping you doing this, like whatever you need, because sometimes I do ask questions that are very important and they take 1 week to get back. I'm like, I don't even remember the question at this point. I probably already have an answer, but I wasted 7 hours to get it. So entering with a different mindset is not a black box thing. It's more of a conversational place.
Yeah, I'd like to echo this. Like, because what really is a smart contract? What's an audit? It's a software security review, right? So, but that's still abstract words. What a smart contract audit is it's trying to reconcile making sure that what the developer expects the code the code to do is actually what the code does. Seems pretty straightforward, but that's our entire job, right? So in order for us to make sure that it does what you expect it to do, we can go and figure it out, but we prefer that you write down all of your assumptions and your expectations, and that helps us get to the end point faster.
Yeah, I will say as an actionable point for someone learning how to read and write documentation is probably close to the most important thing, because most documentation are not very clear, and you can see by reading those or challenging those that they were not very well thought of. Like they just write it at the end to have it, but they are not complete, which is a big problem, because as an auditor, if you don't know what you're building, how can I check that it's doing what you want it to do?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's almost like it's like if you want to build a house, there's something you build first. It's the foundation. If you're not building the foundation first, you're out of order. So.
Yeah, I will say you go for test-driven development. So you first write the test, then you write the code, and while you're writing the code, you write the documentation that needs to be clear. So I will say, again, as an actionable point for someone learning will be to start with test-driven development and actually caring about the documentation, because it does matter. Like that's what you're building, which if you don't know what you're building, if it's not clear even to yourself, it's a problem. I don't know how much time we still have, but we did have one question that we did not cover, which is how effective are our bug bounty programs compared to audits? So something like Immunify. I will say they are good, but problematic, to say the least. We have had 2 days ago one case of a team not wanting to pay. So a bug bounty is, if you don't know what it is, it's essentially you put a bounty on the bugs that might be in your code. So you say, if you find something, I'm going to pay this amount. The problem is with bug bounties that we do work for free as auditors, and we send you the vulnerability and we say, we found this. Then the team says, okay, I do believe this is a vulnerability, and I do believe this is this severity. The problem is that most time the team has no incentive to actually pay you the most amount. So the problem is that most people that I know don't really do bug bounties anymore because usually they don't pay. Yeah. Like there has been a case 2 days ago where the team actually received the vulnerability, it was valid. The team actually said, yeah, it's kind of valid, but we decided that it's not in scope anymore, so that we are not paying. So the guy actually did find something, and then it was not paid. Probably will get paid at some point because now it's getting more of a drama, so it will probably get paid. But yeah, I've stopped doing bug bounties, and many people that I know stopped doing bug bounties because the incentive is a bit broken there. You do work for free and then you don't get paid.
I mean, from a customer standpoint, I think it's a good option for customers because it depends on the type of projects, again, that you're coming in with, right? So if you're coming in with something that's not as complicated as DeFi, then a bug bounty could be a good option for you, right? You get more eyes on your code base, and the code base is more easily accessible by the varying skill sets of the auditors that are coming into the audit, right? Well, so
you don't really know if you get more eyes. You possibly get more eyes. Like you don't know how many people are going to look at it.
It's true.
And how much time they're going to spend on it. Because
it's true.
Also with bug bounties, the problem is, as an audit, from the auditor standpoint, is that if it lasts for 1 month and it started 2 weeks ago, I might not start it because I might think, okay, I will not be the first to find probably big vulnerabilities, so the payout is not going to be there for me, so I'm not going to...
Yeah, but I mean, like, a lot of the projects also don't have necessarily options, right? And like, there are also teams that do deploy bug bounties on their own. So this is not a corporate-run bug bounty program. It's actually a program that's been instantiated by a foundation, like a chain starts its own bug bounty, puts up capital against it, and then prices up against it, and then runs it themselves. So I think it's a good option for entities that have the capital to be able to deploy that, because it also does help the developer ecosystem from their standpoint as well.
I mean, the point is, the good part of bug bounties is that you don't have to pay unless someone finds a bug. So from a reputational standpoint, from project, it's actually good to show that you have it. And from operational side, you only pay actually when there is something that it's very, like, you actually need to fix it. So it's always good to have a bug bounty. You should actually pay it though when you post it, which is not always the case. So do we have any other question? I think we finished the topic that we had prepared. Yeah.
Thank you very much. What do you think about audit marketplaces? Are they going to be good because we are going to have better prices, or they are going to go against the quality of the audits?
That's what we just covered. So it varies. It varies in it varies on what it is that you are coming to the marketplace with, the complexity of that, and it varies with the auditors that are in the marketplace, right? So depending upon the types of bugs that those auditors have found previously and their availability, right, as well as what the prizes are, and then what the historical payouts of those projects, right? If you're a project that has been known to not pay out, then you might have challenges within that bug bounty platform, right? But if you're known to pay out and you're known to be reasonable, then I think it's a fantastic option.
It's a bit hard to answer the question because usually better price, like, really depends on the situation, because you might get 90% less, but the auditor has 1 month of experience compared to years. So better price depends, but on the same level, maybe, like same level auditor, you can choose actually the one that is asking for less. But usually the prices are very close. Like if you are at a certain level, your price is very close to someone else that is on the same level. So probably yes, I don't think it will hurt, but I'm not sure about how much it can help. So it will not hurt in any way, like you still have the same amount of choices, you just have more informations. But I'm not sure it can help that much. Also because I don't think it's very clear which auditor are actually the very good ones and which are the bad ones. Maybe we have one or two companies that are known to be bad and one or two that are known to be good, but I think in between it's not very clear. Also because the company itself is built on the auditor that are inside, so we don't know when the roster changes, when people go out, come in the company. So it's a bit hard to keep up with that. So I'm not sure it's going to help, but yeah, it's not going to harm, so it's good. Anyone else? Okay, I think we're done then.
Cool, awesome.
Yeah?
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys.